Hey-o everybody, this is another installment of Finding Sensibility, where we take positive or inspirational quotes and see if we can make them work in our day-to-day or determine that they're just a product of their times. And what we have today is not a quote that's attributed to any one person. And there are a few of these in the book that are more kind of colloquialisms or just sort of advice or proverbs of a particular area. And today is a Russian proverb. So what we have: those that are afraid of bad luck will never know good. Ultimately, what this sounds like to me, if I were to make a bit of a parallel to it, is what we call risk assessment, which is looking at a particular decision or situation and saying, okay, this is a very high risk, but it's also a high reward. However, that means the probability of failure is also pretty high as well. Transitively, a low risk venture will generally yield low rewards. However, the probability of success is much higher. And of course there are outliers and all of this, but we're speaking in generalities with just, again, that risk assessment is what we're talking about. So, with that in mind, this idea that those that are afraid of bad luck will never know good. Ultimately, what this is saying to me is, if you're not willing to take a risk, you're never going to ever make it big or get that one that thing that you just want, a great job, great husband or wife, winning lottery ticket, all of these things that are kind of associated with luck, but luck is its own topic. That's nothing I'm going to try to talk about tonight. What I do want to try to bring into this is analyzing that risk assessment that we just talked about. I really hope the power doesn't go out. If you heard that thunder, I don't know, but it's going. What we're going to talk about is being able to identify reckless thinking and decision making and fearless thinking or decision making. And the simplest way to do that is if we talk about fearless decision making, what we're looking at is both the positive outcomes and the potential negative outcomes as well, and trying to make an informed decision whether or not, if this good thing that I want to happen doesn't happen and it's this bad thing, can I deal with this? Am I going to be able to handle this? If I can't, maybe I shouldn't do it at all. But if I think I can handle this and I'm going to be okay, here we go. Throw caution to the wind, make it happen. If you get the good thing on this side, awesome. If you get the bad thing over here, well, you kind of knew that was a possibility, and now you got to make it. Reckless thinking can kind of be one of two things. Either you just don't consider any potential outcomes and just act haphazardly, or you don't really understand the potential outcomes. It's the equivalent of what I think of somebody who just has to talk to hear themselves talk. They'll spend 10 minutes vocalizing and never really say anything. And yes, I'm saying that as I sit in front of a camera talking to it with no other dialogue happening, I will humbly acknowledge the little bit of hypocrisy there. But all I'm trying to say is you have two decision-making processes that are ultimately very, very similar. However, they need to be very specific and very deliberate. And if you are able to get through life acting reckless and not really having to think about what your decision-making process is, that's great. I hope it works for you. It certainly doesn't for everybody. And if you feel like you might be a little bit skewed to one side, try to keep it over in that fearless territory. Don't get wrapped up in the decision-making process and get lost trying to figure out the outcomes, but still just make sure you know what might happen on both sides and whether you can handle the success of it or the failure of it. So, personally, I don't believe in luck. But if you can harness this idea of fearless acting compared to reckless acting, I think it can make it seem like you're one of the people that just ends up having good luck. This is the end of our first week of videos. I hope you enjoyed. I'm going to do my best to make improvements here and there for next week, and I will plan to see you then. Until then, stay tuned and stay real.